Hello and welcome back to the E.G.C, the Erudite Games and Comics, and happy St. Patty's Day. On the last video, I did mention that I was going to save Dick Tracy for St. Patty's Day, and here we are. Now, in this one, we actually have two stories to go through, and I'll give you my opinions about both and the overall thing. But let's get right into it, shall we? Now, in this one, the first story, The Irish Goodbye, is actually written by. Oh, I should actually go back. It's written by Alex Segura and Michael Morsi, and the artist is Craig Cermak. Now, in the first one, The Irish Goodbye, we actually follow the monologue of the culprit. Actually, this is how it starts out. He is a no-name culprit. He doesn't have a name that he particularly goes by. He ends up saying what he calls himself later on. He calls himself Keys. But we start out in a little ballroom area where he starts talking about how he was a criminal, or how he still is a criminal, and but then he ran into like bigger crime lords, and they're like doing all those papers, and they use like bankers, and instead of using guns they use like business degrees, and he's talking about that and how they pry on the people, or the less fortunate, for their money. Now, with this guy, he waits till he gets him to a room, and then he ends up talking about him and everything that he does and how he's wrong for it, and unfortunately he takes his life. And this is where we run into Dick Tracy and our new assistant, Sam Ketchum. Now, from the previous one, our last assistant, he's actually the chief of police, so really good for that guy. So now we're following Sam and Dick Tracy in this detective work. Now he's the Clover Killer. So they end up talking to these two ladies over here, trying to get some information, but they say they don't know this the culprit. They never seen this guy, and everyone was wearing masks. As we see, his mask was all the white with the little black equal signs. Now it, we forward on throughout the day, and now we're running into a guy who is a senator, and he's trying to promote this business, this a periwinkle corporation that's gonna help give us new jobs and all this stuff. But then our culprit, who's in disguise, he ends up bringing up tax fraud, because it's really the senator wants to use it for him to get this like big tax break, and the actual money isn't going to be really good, but he's still trying to push. Well, not the culprit, the senator is still trying to push everyone to agree to for this funding to come in for this guy. And so the culprit, he says his piece, and they all argue, and the culprit walks away. But he ends up later calling the culprit Keys. This is it goes back to his monologue, and we find out his name is Keys. Keys ends up going to the senator's office, or his house, and the senator is trying to figure out who this guy is and how does he know so much. But Keys is already one step ahead, and he ends up taking him out. So now we have a serial killer on the loose, and Sam and Tracer are both at this crime scene trying to figure out how they got there, or now they're trying to connect the dots. Like, okay, this guy's going after like cope or certain people, so now it's not no longer just a random killing. It's like a plan. It's planned murder. So with that, and so now they're trying to figure out who the next victim would be. So they end up going to a pub, trying to figure out anyone on the streets that would have news on it. They end up running into, or Tracy ends up going to the bar, and they see this girl over here, and her name is Mousy. So she's like the known snitch of the area. So she'll always like snitch out on people for a couple bucks, but she's trying to like run away from Tracy, try not to get caught, because she knows that Tracy's a police, and she could obviously lose her life if they keep finding out that she's giving the police information. So she tried to make a run for it, but our good buddy Sam is there to stop her at the door. So they we're talking, and she's trying to say like, oh, well, this guy, he's actually going after the real criminals and all this. And so they let her go. They knew they couldn't get too much information from her. Sam doesn't think they got any, but Tracy thinks like, oh, well, it's a little bit, because we now know that this person is confirmed to be foreigner, because the guy Keys, the criminal, he is Irish, and he comes from a whole England background. But then, so they're continuing walking, and they run into a newsstand trying to figure out who the next culprit is. But we find out on the news that Josh Periwinkle, the senator, or the guy who the senator wanted to boost fundings for, ends up getting a actual substantial amount of money. They say it's just a substantial amount of money from the government for funding, but then this guy just furloughs a lot of people. So now it's like questions. Well, Tracy's like, well, we clearly know that this guy is the next culprit, so they're going to stage a night to try to capture Keys. Now, Keys is obviously about to headhunt him, so he tries to, but he ends up getting caught because of Tracy and Sam. They're already there. They see him. They end up, obviously, as you can see from the picture, exchanging bullets. For luckily, no one got hurt, and Sam ends up tackling Keys down, ends up putting him in handcuffs and about to take him away. But Keys is trying to persuade him, trying to say like, "Hey, well, you know what I'm doing is right, and this guy is really the bad guy." And Sam's not really trying to hear it, but he's like understanding how he is, because Sam has a little more compassion, I guess you would say, towards the criminals and for his reasonings. I guess towards this particular criminal and his reasonings. But Tracy, on the other hand, has other ideas. He ends up arresting Joshua Periwinkle over here. That's the CEO who just fired everyone. And he points out that both of you guys are criminals, because of what he's doing is wrong and what you have done is wrong. So they both end up getting arrested and serving time. So I think that was a good play for that one. And that was oh, I am sorry, uh, Irish Goodbye. That was the Irish Goodbye. Now on the short half, which this one is actually by uh, for the writing is Tim Seeley, and let me try to get that better for y'all. Oh, sorry, camera's not wanting to focus. It's Tim Seeley, and the artist is Rebecca Isaac. Sorry for the first name. I really don't know how to pronounce that. But the second one is the short of it. So with the short of it is actually a shorter story. It's just a little. It's a short story in a short story. So we're actually following this lady right here, with starting out with her monologue, and she is R.C. O'Reilly. Now R.C. O'Reilly is actually 9 feet tall. She's a tall girl. So she had we start with her monologue, and she says like it's hard for because she also moved from Ireland to here. So and she's trying to find like the American way, the good money and the good life, but it's I know it's a little bit harder than what people really make it out to seem to be. Now, she's actually a cab driver, and she picks up this guy, which his name is Jack McNally. Now, she has a thing, and her thing is small people. So I thought that was pretty funny. It was a nice little funny twist, and this guy obviously is the height of a leprechaun, so he's like four something, and that is like perfectly her type, and she talks about it. And so I thought it was pretty funny, and she also starts to reminisce of her last love life, which this guy is Heels Bill, and I'm assuming this is from the original Dick Tracy series. So I thought that was a cool little nice throwback. Obviously, it has RC, Dick Tracy, and her last love life. Now, Jack over here, and he was talking to her, trying to smooth talk her, but then he says something that she doesn't really find too fond. But then, so she kicks him out. She's like, "Get out." So that was the night for him. Like he had a plan to do something with her, like, "Hey, you do something for me, and I'll make it worth your while," type thing. So she kicks him out. She didn't like it, and then the next day happened. Now it's St. Patty's Day for her, and so she's looking out the window. She's seeing all these people happy, cheering, and now she's like, "Oh, I guess I should have heard him out." But so she was like, well, maybe I'll change my mind. So she tries to go back, and she finds out Jack over here is about to get robbed and beat up. So what does she do for every average 9 foot tall over lady? Well, of course, hop up the stairs. I love this because she hops over the stairs, beats the crap out of everyone, but we turned out that was the wrong thing to do because Dick Tracy shows up and tells her that she's under arrest, and now she's super confused. Like, no, no, I'm helping this guy out. He's really a leprechaun, and he's going and they're robbing him, and he's gone. And so she's like, oh, so she's confused, and she clearly gets arrested for it. Now she's confused because he robbed a store, and these people were actually, oh crap, oops, spoiled it, sorry. We actually found out that she is or no, sorry, we actually found out that Jack was a criminal, and the three people on the ground are actually federal agents that was going to arrest him because he robbed a whole jewelry store. So she ends up taking the rap for it, ends up going to jail, and now she's spending St. Patrick's Day by herself. Felt bad for her because this little Irish girl spending by herself. Dick Tracy tries to warm her up, but she's gone. She made it, and now it's just a note on the pillow, and so he reads it, and we find out it was actually Jack. Jack actually came back, saved her, or brought her, or I guess I wouldn't say saved her, took her out of jail, and now they're gone. So, and that was Dick Tracy for the St. Patty's Day special. Now, I honestly didn't think it was too bad. I actually liked the fact that we went through the criminals monologue because we didn't really get that. You don't really get that a lot, per se. So I thought it was done really well. I thought the art was pretty good. You get to see two different people's art. Actually, going over it again made me appreciate Tim Seeley's, or was it Tim Seeley? Sorry, Isaac's art. I should say his art was really good. I thought the Craig's art with this Irish Goodbye was good too. Stories were good. Little nice criminal crime story for a good detective, and I will definitely, I would say a good 8 out of 10. Nice story, and definitely going to be there for the next one. And I hope everyone has a good St. Patty's Day. If you haven't, you can go ahead and pick up your Dick Tracy issue at your local comic book store, or if you read online, you can probably find it just online, just as easy. Everyone have a good day. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.